Namaste friends, hope you are all doing great today. Finally, before his first term could end, POTUS, President of United States of America, Donald Trump is visiting India. Beyond the much ambitious optics of mass welcome, there are certain reasons why this tour becomes important both for India and United States. At the same time, there are few other points which says this tour is not so important. Of course, we must understand Donald Trump and Modi in their personal relationships, they are good friends. There are concerns also raised by the experts whether or not this relationship is not yielding the desired or expected results in favor of India. The point is very simple. They also raise that issue, what if Donald Trump do not get elected for the second term and this so-called the deep cooperation might be a challenge in future if Democratic Party comes to power. However, putting politics aside, let's look at the aspects why this tour of Donald Trump becomes important in the India's perspective. Of course, even in the past, let's say for last year, Donald Trump was invited for the Republic Day ceremony, but he was not able to make up for the ceremony. It is often said in the United States that Donald Trump do not like the long tours. However, he has decided to come to India. We must be discussing certain aspects, and bilaterally this becomes very important. Let's say the trade and tariff in the first place. Secondly, the possibility of major defense deals, economy and defense deal. Apart from also to mention the cooperation aspect in the third place, there is need for the deep cooperation between India and US. And fourth aspect, of course, this is strategic and geopolitical. As we know, trade and tariff is quite a gloomy picture in relationship between India and United States. Last year, United States USTR, United States Trade Representative, has removed India from the generalized system of preferences, which allows or provides for the reduced rate of tariff for certain countries. Of course, it explicitly mentions that it is non-reciprocal, but for removing India from the GSP list, US courts saying that India is not reciprocating with the same sort of tariff reduction. This is quite a hypocrisy. At the same time, this will affect around 5.8 billion trade or 12% of the trade with US. It will directly affect India, directly affect the goods and services, directly affect certain products manufactured or exported to US, which will incur more tariff. Hence it becomes less competitive. It will be regressive for Indian economy, also Indian exporters. This is quite a sad picture by the US towards India. Hence, if not a huge development in this regard, at least a sort of development must be made while discussing the bilateral issues in the first place. And second place, in 2018, under the National Security Act, National Security Norm, United States of America imposed around 25% tariff on nearly 780 billion steel industry, steel export from India. At the same time, it imposed around 12% tariff on the another important aluminium export from India. This will be disastrous. This was proven disastrous for Indian exporters. This was proven quite challenging for steel and aluminium exporters who often faced high tariff by the US since 2018. It was done under the same Trump administration. Hence, not just what we speak through mic or through speeches, it is always important that what will be acted in the right spirit, in the right direction towards deepening of the cooperation. I often feel the second move taken by the United States in the recent time is quite disastrous for India. When they decide to, and when they legitimize that India is no longer a developing country but a developed country, it is direct threat and direct challenge to Indian agriculture market. We know WTO norms, we know 3 boxes: green box, blue box, amber box. If a country is listed as developed country, provision of subsidy will be made to reduce. If India is giving more subsidy, US will say that this will damage the competition or this will destroy my domestic market. Therefore, India must restrict itself to 5% of subsidy rather than going for 10 or 15%. When India gives MSP or certain things, of course we saw a lot of things in the WTO round of discussions. However, these are the issues which will hamper the agriculture sector or agriculture export to United States. If they classify India in the developed category, of course it will also affect the goods and services and other evolving technologies with US. Whenever the trade and tariff war is ended, or apart from trade and tariff war, there is also another aspect which is quite challenging, that is the intellectual property rights. When we evolve with the idea of generic drugs, US has a problem. If we impose some dumping duty, US has a problem. Of course, it will always look forward for its own interest, but it should not be at the cost of India's welfare. It should not be at the cost of India's economy. These are the very challenging issues. We know when the trade tariff rates were increased by the US, India also resorted by raising the tariffs to almonds, walnuts, certain classes of agricultural products. Of course, even if India would have raised the tariff according to US level, see, we already have nearly $23 billion of trade deficit. At the same time, it would have led to another set of trade war between India and United States. The world is already affected by the trade war between India and China, and now they are resorting to resolve it finally. Of course, we have failed to encash this possibility or this situation or this opportunity which was raised from the trade war between US and China, whereas Vietnam, South Korea and other Southeastern nations, with the competitive edge they have gained from that trade war, India could not garner such sort of opportunity or could not encash with the situation raised or the opportunity created because of the US-China trade war. However, this is a different aspect. Let's come back to the bilateral issue. After these aspects of trade and tariff, it is important that when we say the skilled labor who go to US in the name of H-1B visa, US has put severe restrictions for providing the skilled labor visas to India. This is also quite a challenge, and Narendra Modi and Donald Trump has to address it at the earliest. Much earlier, when United States President decided to come to India in the month of January or so, the idea was mooted. There will be a big trade deal which is going to be signed between India and America. Whereas now, official and the secretary has forwarded, or let's say he has skipped that major trade deal and said there cannot be any advances till the presidential elections will be done in the month of November 2020. Only after that, we may expect some sort of a huge trade deal. However, during the visit of President Donald Trump, we can expect some sort of a mini or short trade deal, which can be a win-win situation for both India and United States, which will also garner the concept of a reduction of balance of trade, also which will help the domestic industries at both the levels. See, humanitarian grounds has to be brought in between this profitable economic criterion between India and US. Always, if it is looking forward for the medical devices or pharmaceuticals or even for the intellectual properties or evolving fields of technology and new innovative streams of economy, of course US will always look forward for the profit, and it always wants the reciprocity by the India. Otherwise they will keep on increase the tariffs, which will be quite challenging and disastrous for Indian economy and domestic market. See, coming to third aspect, after this optics, after this trade and tariff issue, which is quite a challenge, and which also comes to think to a point that whether or not such sort of optics is necessary when India is not benefited or India is not getting benefited even after conducting such a huge welcoming ceremonies. See, this is quite a reciprocity of what happened last year in Texas when Narendra Modi was conducting a program in the name of Howdy Modi. The same is being reciprocated by Modi to the Trump in Ahmedabad, and Trump is quite excited for two reasons. A, that such a huge rally and such a huge audience will be a great enthusiastic movement for him, and at the same time it will be used for domestic political purpose of Donald Trump, which may help raise his rating, saying that see how the globe treats POTUS, how America can be made great again, how I am being treated in India. And this will indeed may used by Donald Trump and his base, his supporters, to increase the vote base which of Indian based citizens or Indian origins US citizens who are traditionally accustomed to vote or stand with Democratic Party. So this can be one such reason for Donald Trump to say Abki Baar Trump Sarkar even in United States, using the Indian origin voters in America. After this aspect, we must also discuss this trade deal. See, Lockheed Martin made helicopter is quite in need for Navy, torpedoes, drones, and what we say, some launch missiles, etc. is mooted at this stage. And there is also reports that nearly 2.8 billion has been granted by the defense procurement cell of Union Cabinet, which is also quite good move, for the simple reason, for increasing threat and also for the peace and prosperity of Indian Ocean and surrounding region of India. India has to be well equipped with all the necessary and modern warheads, equipments, military weapons, so that it can tackle any sort of terrorist threats or Chinese aggression or some sort of enemy states attack. It is necessary that being peaceful and growing together, all the countries in this Indian region will be equally benefited if India will be weaponized or well weaponized to tackle the enemies or to tackle any sort of attacks. At the same time, Navy, by getting such sort of Seawalk helicopters, it will help tackle the piracy. It can also be used in the rescue operations. Indian Navy has become very popular and synonymous with the rescue operations wherever in the Indian region or even otherwise. For rescue or helping operation, Indian Navy will become the first known name. That's why it is quite proud to say that our Indian Navy is not just a warfare fleet, but also a rescue fleet in the larger context of global arena. We have seen recently what happened in Madagascar. In past, we have seen how it had tackled in Yemen, Djibouti, etc., etc. I am not going to establish that, or I am not going to elaborate on that. However, it is important that we are getting closer in the defense ties with United States. It becomes very important to tackle the terrorism jointly. It also becomes very important for us to fight Chinese aggression, or it becomes very important for us to stand in the global stages. See, tomorrow US may provide a platform for India with NATO-like status, equivalent to NATO-like status, which will be very, very strategic for India's perspective. However, it is also important after defense when we say such sort of deals will help in enriching our weapon capacity, our defense capacity, and help in procuring very advanced technologies which are quite restricted with only elite countries at this point of time. Hence, signing a very deeper and very engrossed defense deal with US is necessary, and it also need of the time. Of course, after defense, the aspect of geostrategic and geopolitical connectivity or geopolitical relationship is very important. We know US is planning to withdraw from Afghanistan. It becomes very important if US withdraws by signing a deal with Taliban, that Taliban will take over Afghanistan, which will help the terrorists of Pakistan to work with Al-Qaeda's kind of agencies, which will give the ISI upper hand to operate in that region. All the investments, very investments of India in Afghanistan will be at stake. We know what is happening in Iran. US and Iran tensions might affect our Chabahar port project and also accessibility to Afghanistan through that Chabahar port. All these aspects are very important in the context of India and also establishing peace in the Asian region. See, we have suffered for a long because India chose to stand with Russia or then USSR, and America always felt India to be in the opposite side. Therefore, even when India fought a war with China, when Chinese tried to occupy Arunachal Pradesh region in 1962, US did not come. US was very up against the ante or up with arms when India did its nuclear tests. We have seen in the past, US was quite reluctant and dubious about India. However, it becomes very important today when the two leaders think that they are the good friends. Even if Trump says that he is quite doubtful about India or he is not so happy with India, but Narendra Modi, we know it is not a compliment, but at the same time, need of the time is both India and US should move together, because US is oldest democracy and India is largest democracy. Both democracies can harbinger some sort of transformation in economy, even in the global arena. See, we must understand, even for India to enter into United Nations P5, that means if India wants to become P6th nation, permanent 6th nation in the United Nation, US dominated United Nation, it is very necessary that the help and also the support of US is one such sort of thing which will help India to act as a or play a leadership role, not just in the UN but also in all the global forums. We must also understand most of the multipolar organizations like UN or even otherwise, most of the IMF, World Bank, most of them are proven to be quite unsuccessful or proven to be quite scanty in the recent times. The future could be because of every nation's some sort of protectionist policy, it becomes very important that bilateral relationship is going to lead the 21st century, or it will be very necessary for the bilateral relationships to get deepened, even if those multilateral forums fail in future or in the contemporary era. Hence, deeper US-India relationship is need of the time. Donald Trump's full support to India's moves is need of the time, even if US panel cites and speaks in the language of China, saying that CAA, anti-CAA protest will lead to marginalization of Muslims in India. I would like to ask a simple question to United States or even to China, that what China is doing with Uyghurs, will it not marginalize Muslims? What US is doing in Iran, Middle East, or let's say if it is standing too much with Israel, will it not provoke or marginalize the sentiment of Muslims who are within US or even otherwise? What will happen to the Muslim world? What happens if Syrian people starts revolting against the US in the same way like ISIS was once born? Hence, CAA, anti-CAA, whatever the protest or whatever the legislation, it should be left as the internal matter of India. It is good and it would be better if US does not meddle in the internal matters of India. Of course, we know what are the new home security rules, which is favoring for the whites at the cost of blacks or at the cost of non-Americans in providing the citizenship to United States. Isn't it quite racial? Isn't it quite discriminatory? Don't you think that it will marginalize some section of people? Don't you think that tryst for making America great again will marginalize some section of the vulnerable or so-called some not so very, whites of America? See, these are the challenges faced or raised, or it has to be tackled by America itself, because that is the internal matter of America. India won't meddle in the internal matter of America. At the same time, America should not meddle in the internal matters of India. It is also important at the same time. See, internal matters are for the sovereign nations to decide, sovereign parliaments to decide, sovereign courts to decide, sovereign peoples to decide. But United States must understand, in order to establish a good relationship with India or to have its good power balance in the Asia region, it is quite important not just for India but also for United States to have a deep and good relationship with India. See, there is no such a major country which is following the democracy and also following the open liberalized economic norms, which also has demography dividend democracy and quite lawful compared to any of the countries in the region. If it wants to have a good access or good peaceful strategy in the so-called turbulent Asian region, we know what is the situation in Pakistan, we know what is the condition of Afghanistan, we know almost what is going on in West Asia in the name of Arab Spring, which is quite often termed as Arab-less Spring, which is Western-backed spring, few claim. Of course, we know apart from Saudi Arabia or one or two nations, most of the West Asian countries are in the turbulent form. China cannot be the best friend of America. Russia, Putin can be good friend of Trump, but Russia cannot be good friend of America for its past track record and also for the thirst for power. Hence, as a major nation with nearly 130 crore people and also all sorts of possibilities to grow together, and when we are seeing a situation where the power balance and all the growth possibilities gradually shifting towards Asia, and 21st century is quietly turning towards Asia, when American dominance or American-led unipolar world is quite getting disintegrated, and most of the emerging powers are getting together to fight a single common largest power called United States. all these factors makes or is an innate pressure which may not express, but it is an innate pressure for United States to have a deeper links and ties with India, irrespective of which party is in power. But somehow US has a system in which whatever the leaders or whatever the president may announce, those Senate members, Congress members, or secretary at the secretarial level, it becomes quite a challenging task for the deeper relationship with India. We have seen what has happened with trade tariff, what has happened with GSP, what has happened with providing visas to the skilled laborers. We know what has happened when it came to the condition of agricultural products. We are seeing it. And what happens if Harley Davidson tariff is increased, how president will get irked, and as soon as if we reduce the rate through budget, how president will be happy. So whole connected arena of trade and tariff is at the center of US interests. Defense procurement or defense purchase is also one of those concerns for the US. But for India, it is the peaceful growth and the ambitious role it is going to play in the 21st century, and how it will take over the leadership role from US to India. See, there was a saying, I'm just quoting an opinion, there was a saying, US or the West never want anybody to be peaceful. They always want some sort of disturbance in every region so that they can grow peacefully. I am not backing this idea, or I am not saying that this is true, but fact of the matter, for such a large country like US, it must be thinking otherwise, and it should be planning to grow on its own strength rather than destabilizing the regions for want of oil or for want of energy, for want of some sort of common interests which is in its favor. So finally, summing up, it has become a long and elaborated discussion. Of course, see, geostrategic and geopolitical importance for India and US is quite necessary and quite important. Hence, growing and going together for Donald Trump and Narendra Modi, both for the election reasons, or even for the developmental reasons, it becomes impertinent and very important that we have the tendency from here onwards that US and India will be the strongest allies in the world order, even in the world forums. And US and India will begin or initiate a new chapter of mutual relationship, mutual understanding, and bilateral relationship must go to the next level from here onwards. Here onwards, US must think that India is one of its strongest and trustworthy ally in the Asia, and at the same time, US should not be so much partisan, so much. I do not want to say this, but however, US should not be so much discriminatory towards India. Both win-win situation lies for the betterment and better future of both the countries. Hence, let's hope for the best. 2 days visit. May Trump have the best time of his life, from visiting Taj to visiting the schools in Delhi, also to address the huge rally in the Ahmedabad, which will be more than symbolic gesture. It will be optics. These photographs will be used throughout the campaign by the Donald Trump. At the same time, defense deal and also resolving the issues of trade and tariff will be very much necessary. Sooner or later, Trump must cut very, very innovative deals, very evolving deals, so that both America and India must be benefited. Just not in the terms of economic idea for America, but it is necessary for Indian demography to tap and harness the market of US, and at the same time it becomes quite a liability for US to provide such an opportunity or hold the hand of India, I will say that it is not about holding the hand but moving states. Both for India and America, we already have signed 2+2. We have some maritime cooperation. We have some Japan-led Malabar exercise with US. We have some sort of very good relationship with US. It is ever growing. The need of the time is to take it to the next level. It must be a transformatory for both US and India. Of course, I know this short and brief visit won't make a huge difference. That's why most of the skeptics feel that they don't think that spending of 80 crores or some sort of huge lump sum money by the Gujarat or Delhi or government of India is quite unwarranted or unnecessary. However, the fact of the matter is very simple, that it is a time that we grow together. It is a time that we move together. It's a time we have a deeper economic relationship, which is quite win-win for all of us. Through India and US, world must feel secure, world must feel peaceful, world must prosper. Of course, in order to contaminate China, US has no best partner but India. Even for India to grow or to advance the technologies, there is no better partner than United States or Western allies. So hence, we must use and utilize the opportunity provided by the Trump's visit and also have a deeper relationship with him. Bilateral relationships are the one which are going to guide the future of all the nations, including India and United States. It's time for India and United States to move together and do well, make America great again, at the same time make India great once again. God bless America, God bless India, God bless Indians, God bless all, and have a great future ahead and great positive days ahead in India and US relationship. Let's hope for the best. All the pessimistic ideas, let us keep it aside and look forward what will be generated from 2 days trip, what will happen in future, and how it will be taken ahead to the next level. Thank you once again. Dhanyavad. Jai Hind. This is Shreyanka S. Ranade. Let's wish good, happy, peaceful and prosperous India-US relationships. Dhanyavad. Jai Hind.